right, President Trump with a pound fist on his way out of the room, saying that he had expected that they would be in the East Room tonight as part of a celebration. He heralded the record turnout, talked about all the places where he said he has won by a lot, Florida, Ohio, among others. He did take issue, obviously, with the Arizona call that we have made here tonight. He said he believed that Arizona had, quote, a lot of life in that. There's still a lot of life in that, he said, in Arizona. So perhaps, maybe they're coming around a little bit on Arizona as those numbers continue to come in tonight. But then he made it perfectly clear that he sees this as a fraud on the American people. He said it was a very sad moment tonight. And he said, frankly, we did win this election as far as he is concerned. So
he said he won in North Carolina. He's won in Georgia. We have not made those calls as of yet. He is leading. And if you look at Pennsylvania, his numbers are accurate. He is up 600,000 votes in Pennsylvania. The other numbers that he cited in these other states are accurate as well. He is up there as well. In Arizona, he is trailing by about 150,000.
155.
Which is more than the margin of that he's winning in North Carolina. There you look at the numbers in Arizona. And again, we've made that call. But the president defiant, saying that this is an effort to steal the election and that, frankly, quote, we have already won this election. Vice President Pence was a little bit more retrospect in how he said it. The counting continues, he said, and will continue to make America great again. Chris Wallace.
And he also said we're on the road to victory, not that we've won. Mike Pence did. This is an extremely flammable situation, and the president just threw a match into it. He hasn't won these states. Nobody is saying he's won the states. The states haven't said that he's won. This goes right back to what Joe Biden said, which is the president doesn't get to say that he's won states. The American people get to say it, and the state officials get to declare it. And I guess, and I don't know whether he literally means it, but he said, we will be going to the Supreme Court because we want all the voting to stop. Well, voting to stop, yes, but vote counting? These states by state law all have the opportunity, and states routinely are unable to count votes by election night or early into the morning of the day after the election, and it goes on for days. Now, there may be a question as to how long you can continue to accept ballots, but there's no question that all these states can continue to count votes for days. They don't have to certify for weeks who has won the state. That was what happened in Florida back in 2000. So I don't know if he literally meant that he's going to try to stop the counting of the vote, but I would think that would be extremely inflammatory, and frankly, I don't think it's something that the courts would allow.
Dana, but he was also saying we don't want them to find votes in Pittsburgh or any other part of Pennsylvania. Yeah,
that all of a sudden you're going to find 100,000 votes that just happen to be in some trash can behind. I think that's what he was talking about. But Ben Shapiro, who voted for the president and supports the president, he tweets just now, no, Trump has not already won the election, and it is deeply irresponsible for him to say that he has. President Trump had some amazing victories tonight that he can take credit for on the Republican side of things. Look at this, that the United States Senate is likely to stay in Republican hands. The House races I mentioned just beforehand, not only winning in some of those swing districts, but a lot of the women that he backed in this party, and Elise Stefanik, the congresswoman from New York, they have so many things that they can talk about and be proud of tonight. And to say in a posture of, I'm convinced we're going to win. I believe that these races are going to be called for me and for us and for our movement. Just hang with me for another 24 hours. Instead, now, what will the headlines all be tomorrow? What will everybody be saying? Is that he just went a step too far.
Yeah, that he claimed victory. He walked into Hail to the Chief tonight, taking advantage, obviously, of the bully pulpit and the incumbency, and made a very forceful statement about where he thinks this is going to go.
Well, he says it's a fraud on the American people, Martha. What struck me was he sort of did a jujitsu in which he said that it wasn't, even though he said he predicted we would come to this moment in terms of having to have the courts intervene, he said they are taking us to court. suggesting the Democrats are somehow taking him to court. I was confused by this. But in his mind, he's saying he won. He won this election, and that there is something being done by the Democrats to try to undo his victory, and he sees them as taking the initiative here in terms of inviting some litigation. But to my mind, the idea that he would say that, you know what, he wants the voting stopped, I just don't understand it, and I think it's, I think it's beyond the pale there.
We will win this, and as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it. So I just want to thank you.
We are reluctant to step in, but duty-bound to point out when he says we did win this election, we've already won, that is not based in the facts at all. Again, there are millions of votes yet to be counted. Our presidents don't select our victors. Steve Kornacki's at the board. Steve, we heard a lot there. We always allow a lot on election night, hyperbole, but when it veers into falsehood, we have not called the states he claimed for victories. We've not called Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. I wonder if you could fill in some of the blanks on the truth.
Yeah, well, let's take a look here at Pennsylvania. And again, you're seeing the tally of the votes so far that have been tabulated in Pennsylvania is 56 to 43%. I think the first and most important thing to say about these numbers, though, is that there are counties. There are a number of counties in Pennsylvania that announced before tonight that they were not even going to open the mail-in ballots that they received until tomorrow. So there are some places in Pennsylvania that haven't counted a single mail-in ballot. There are plenty of counties like that in Pennsylvania. There are many other counties in Pennsylvania that have only counted a small fraction of their mail-in ballots. Now, why this late on election night are we saying they haven't counted many or any of their mail-in ballots? It's because they weren't allowed by state law in Pennsylvania to open the mail-in ballots until this morning. So there's been a long, some counties have been able to churn through some of the mail-in ballots, but you've got hundreds of thousands of these in some counties. They're just beginning to get to them. So, for example, if you take a look in the largest city in Pennsylvania, if you take a look in Philadelphia, we're expecting when all is said and done, over 800,000 votes are going to come out of Philadelphia. What has been accounted for so far? Do you see this bar right here, this yellow bar? Those are the votes that were cast by people who went out and voted in person today in Philadelphia. Those votes are tabulated. You're looking at them right there. Biden won them pretty overwhelmingly. You see this little sliver down here? That's the beginning of the mail-in ballot in Philadelphia. Do you see this giant gray space up here? That's the rest of the mail. They've got to get from the 400,000 or so votes that have been counted right now, all the way up to the 820,000 or so that were actually cast. And again, because they weren't able to even begin the processing of these until today, they are saying it's going to take them some time to get to all of that. That could take into tomorrow to do. But you are seeing Joe Biden overwhelmingly winning here in Philadelphia, leading the vote here, I should say, in Philadelphia, with hundreds of thousands of votes to come there. That can change. And it's not just Philadelphia. I'm showing you Philadelphia. Let's go out here to the suburbs of Philadelphia, densely populated Montgomery County. And again, you're going to see the same dynamic here. They have counted some of their mail. They have counted the votes that were cast today in person. And guess what? We're not at the top of the vote thermometer. That's because there's over 100,000 votes remaining to be counted in a giant county that Joe Biden right now is leading the tabulations in with 60%. This is true in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh right now, this is a pretty dramatic example. Second largest city in the state. They have counted the same day vote. That's why Donald Trump looks like he's doing better than a Republican normally does in Pittsburgh, in Allegheny County right now, because the same day vote, which is more favorable to Trump, has been tabulated. What has not been tabulated is the bulk of the mail vote. They are expecting more than 750,000 ballots when all is said and done to be tabulated here. They have got about 240,000 left to come. We are seeing this throughout Pennsylvania. I'm giving you the big ones here. As I said, there are small and medium-sized counties that aren't even going to have a little bit of the mail done tonight. They've said we're not even going to touch it until tomorrow. So the big picture in Pennsylvania, we think there are upward of 2 million ballots that have not yet been counted and that are not a part of this tally. Donald Trump's lead right now in what has been tabulated is sitting at a little bit less than 700,000. Again, nearly 2 million to come, and they are disproportionately Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Montgomery County, Democratic areas, and we have been seeing this split where the votes that were cast by mail, it's just for whatever reason this year, Democratic voters seem to have preferred to cast ballots by mail, and Republican voters, Trump voters, seem to have preferred to turn out on Election Day and vote in person on Election Day. And in these counties, you're seeing that Election Day vote all counted. So all the Republican votes and all the Trump votes are now included in so many of these tallies. I'm going county by county. What's not included in these tallies, either partially or wholly, across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is the mail vote. I'll tell you, we've got completed counties. We have a scattering of completed counties. I've shown you them tonight. It looks like a competitive race to me right now. It doesn't look like a race anybody could call.